Welcome to Sleeves 101. Let's talk about sleeves in a very general discussion to begin your journey sewing sleeves. Sleeves are both functional and a design element. Functional because they must allow for freedom of movement and comfort and enhance the overall purpose of the garment. The design element is of a sleeve should complement the garment bodice. And we'll talk about those particular ways that it complements it and creates a variety of design elements. There are three basic types of sleeves. The set-in sleeve, as you see in the little camp shirt over here. The kimono sleeve, which is here. A little hard to tell. We'll describe why that is a kimono there, sleeve. And the raglan sleeve, which is what we have in our hoodie and the type of sleeve that you're going to learn to sew first. Let's talk about the set-in sleeves. They are the most common type of sleeve, but they are actually the most difficult to sew. So we try to start you in on sleeve information using just the raglan sleeve. And then as you move into Sewing Fundamentals 2, you will begin to learn how to do the set-in sleeve. So set-in sleeves are sewn right into the bodice armhole. And that armhole has a name. It's called the arm's eye seam. Arm's eye, that's how you say that word, arm's eye. When they are sewn into that arm's eye, the hole, they need to be eased and gathered or darted or tucked whenever you do it, because you're taking something round shape and putting it into a different round shape. They can be fitted or flared or cut to any length, and their hemlines can finish in a variety of ways. The kimono sleeve is actually cut all in one with the front and the back. So if I did say a typical kimono, you probably have that T-shaped garment in mind. And this one would be that if we just held the garment out like this, it would be cut on. It's all, in this case, it's all the chest and the sleeve is all cut as a front and a back. These arms' eyes are deeper, meaning they go lower down in the armpit, not fit very tight up under the armpit. There's usually wrinkles caused because of the extra fabric that's down there, which is normal. It can also be referred to as a dolman sleeve. And then the raglan sleeve. Raglan sleeves actually have part of the bodice, front and back, as part of the seam sleeve itself. It is sewn on with a diagonal seam at the neckline, front and back. It will have a shoulder dart or some kind of seaming to create shape over that shoulder. It is very common to have underarm wrinkles in this type of sleeve as well. It is a deeper arm's eye. That extra ease allows movement across the chest and movement of the arm. Even though on our hoodies, some of us feel it's a little bit too deep, probably because it is a non-binary pattern. And so men's chests and arms are usually larger than women's. So there is a compromise on our pattern. So as you try to do your adjustments when we sew the sleeve now in the body of the garment, keep that in mind. You shouldn't go way, way up high. You still need to have movement allotted for in a raglan sleeve. It is a very loose fitting sleeve, and that makes it very comfortable to wear. Let's identify some of these sleeves and these line drawings of patterns that you might come across if you're shopping for patterns. Raglan, right? There's the back, there's the front. And if it was a set-in sleeve, it'd be right there. That's why we consider part of the front, the shoulder, is part of the sleeve. Part of the back shoulder is part of the sleeve. Here's a set-in sleeve in the classic tailored shirt. Here is a version of a dolman sleeve where, like that baseball shirt that we just saw, this top, the top yoke, front and back, are one long piece with the sleeve cut on it. Here's a little cap. We call this a little cap sleeve, but it's still actually the dolman or kimono type sleeve. Here it's cut on really true kimono. It's not square like you think a kimono is, but it is cut on, and then the lower has something stitched onto it. Here it is in a little gathered top, actually completely part of the garment, except for the little band or trim that they put on it. It is cut onto the garment, the sleeve is. Here's another hoodie, like the pullover hoodie. It actually has set-in sleeves. Here's another raglan shirt top. And quite a few athletic shirts will have the raglan sleeve, whether they be pullover, t-shirt basic, or if they have a polo effect to them and have the little placket in the front. And here's another form of a set-in sleeve in a very kind of loose shirt dress. Here are the three basic sleeves again, that kimono and raglan, or dolman, the kimono and dolman, that are both part of the body of the fabric garment, and then the raglan, where part of the fabric from the garment body is included in it, and then your set-in sleeve. Now here's sleeveless, right? And then you begin with that little cap sewn on, or not, is part of it, not sewn on, cut on. It is cut on as part of the garment. And then you proceed to go all the way down. These are all forms of the set-in sleeve. And just by changing some of the aesthetic of the sleeve itself, you get a huge variety of design aesthetics to work with. So some of the vocabulary that we're starting to learn is that set-in sleeve and what that means. It goes right into the arm's eye seam, and the arm's eye is actually the hole in the body of the garment where the sleeve goes into. It is not the sleeve. The sleeve seam has a different terminology. It in the cut-in or in the sew-in sleeve, it is called the cap of the sleeve. So the cap of the sleeve goes into the arm's eye of the garment. The raglan sleeve is like our hoodie sleeve, where part of the front and the back are included in the sleeve itself. The kimono sleeve and the dolman sleeve are two types of sleeves where they are an extension and cut right on to the body or the back front of the garment itself. Possibly it's only a yoke piece, but nevertheless, it's still cut on to part of the body of the garment. Bodice. Bodice is that upper part of the garment that fits from our waist up. That's considered the bodice part of your garment. And ease. Ease is when we kind of gather things together purposely, or when we have to put something inside of another thing where we ease it in. We've talked just a tiny bit about this. We will just a little bit more in our hoodie, but primarily you'll start to learn how to use the ease, how to control it, how to make it go in without puckering when you move on to Sewing Fundamentals 2. And that's our initial jump into sleeves, learning for Fundamentals 1. And now it's time to move on and learn about darts before we actually sew our hoodie.